My fellow Nigerians, as your future president, today I will react to the signing in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, yesterday, October 13, 2025, of a historic peace agreement to end the Israeli-Palestinian war in Gaza, negotiated by United States President Donald Trump and coordinated with Arab countries like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Egypt, and Turkey. Speaking at the signing ceremony, President Trump said, and I quote, "Today, we have achieved what everybody said was impossible. At long last, we have peace in the Middle East. The momentous breakthrough that we are here to celebrate is more than the end of the war in Gaza. With God's help, it will be a new beginning for the Middle East. We can build a region that's stable, prosperous, and united in rejecting the path of terror once and for all." End of quote. Speaking earlier at the Knesset, the Israeli parliament in Jerusalem, Trump said, and I quote, "We gather on a day of profound joy, of soaring hope, of renewed faith, and above all, a day to give our deepest thanks to the Almighty God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob." End of quote. Trump is spot on. The success of the deal requires celebrations and gratitude to God, including for us in Nigeria. Yes, although Nigeria was never a party to the war or involved in the peace negotiations, the deal is important to us. Why? Well, unsurprisingly, while many Nigerian Christians, especially Pentecostal Christians, have typically supported Israel, most Nigerian Muslims are passionate supporters of Palestine. Yeah, it's one of those realities of the approximately evenly split Christian-Muslim country of ours. So, of course, the longer the war went on, the more obvious our religious fault lines became. Let's go back to President Trump. I really love how he credited his team for their obvious hard work in getting the deal done. For example, he said, and I quote, "Marco Rubio will go down as the greatest Secretary of State in the history of the United States." End of quote. Trump equally appreciated Steve Witkoff, his peace envoy, and several others. Reflecting on his role in the peace deal, Trump went on, and I quote, "Everyone thought I was going to be brutal. In fact, Hillary Clinton during a debate said he's going to go to war with everybody. He's got a personality. It's all about war. Now, my personality is actually all about stopping wars, and it seems to work." End of quote. Speaking of Hillary Clinton, to her credit, on Friday, she praised Trump for the deal, saying, and I quote, "I really commend President Trump and his administration, as well as Arab leaders in the region, for the commitment to the 20-point plan." End of quote. Hillary's husband, former President Bill Clinton, similarly praised Trump, saying, and I quote, "President Trump and his administration, Qatar, and other regional actors deserve great credit for keeping everyone engaged until the agreement was reached." End of quote. In fact, so good was the deal that Joe Biden and Antony Blinken, his Secretary of State, tried to take credit for it by claiming that they laid the groundwork for it and Trump only took it over the finish line. What a big lie. Trump totally abandoned Biden's approach, which was to deny Israel weapons and restrain Israel from fighting further. Trump did the reverse. He supported Israel militarily and allowed them to fight on, which then created the diplomatic conditions for sincere negotiations. Also, unlike Biden, Trump has a great relationship with both the Israelis and the Arabs, and that was crucial in securing the peace deal. Indeed, regarding Trump's role in ending the war, former British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who was foreign minister before that, meaning he had been involved with this issue for many years, said, and I quote, "This would not have happened if it hadn't been for Donald Trump. There is no question about it. He put the hard word on both sides. This was an instance of the President of the United States using the power of his office and the force of his personality to deliver something for the world, and I think it's massively positive." End of quote. Explaining how Trump was able to do it, Johnson added, and I quote, "First of all, he built up a lot of credit and trust in Israel. He moved the U.S. embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem." That was in his first term. He had been with Israel in this extraordinary operation against Iranian nuclear enrichment facilities. Nobody could doubt his support for Israel. So that was very, very important. With Hamas, the great thing about President Trump is he has an air of unpredictability. And those guys genuinely thought it was a credible threat he was making to them, that if they kept going, they would then they would be wiped out. End of quote. Boris Johnson is absolutely right. As one former Hamas hostage, Omar Shem Tov, revealed in a CNN interview back in May, Hamas was really scared of Trump. Omar Tov said, and I quote, "President Trump got me out. He got the hostages out. I remember ever since he came into the role, they were very scared of him. They wanted Kamala Harris to be elected. But as soon as Trump was elected, they understood that he wanted to bring us back home. So immediately, the way they treated us changed. More food and all that." End of quote. Because, of course, they did all of that because, of course, they knew that a deal was going to come sooner than later. Beyond that, this historic peace deal absolutely further vindicates those like me who have been very passionate supporters of President Trump since he first ran for US president back in 2015. Indeed, in my November 2024 speech in celebration of Trump's 2024 victory, I'll post a link to it, I said, and I quote, "For all his characteristic tough talk, President Trump is at his core a man of peace. Trump was the first US president in history to meet and hold peace talks with the leader of North Korea." End of quote. I added, and I quote, "Like in his first term, when President Trump negotiated the Abraham Accords between Israel and some Arab states, I'm sure he will similarly find a way to negotiate a ceasefire between Israel and the Palestinians, following more than a year of attacks on both sides that were provoked by the October 2023 terrorist attacks in Israel." End of quote. I'm not a prophet, but I clearly saw this coming. You know why? Because I understand that President Trump is indeed a man of peace who will always strive to end the wars in our world. Amir Ohana, the Speaker of the Knesset, that's the Israeli parliament, said it brilliantly, and I quote, "President Trump, you are the president of peace. There was not a single person on this planet who did more than you to advance peace. Your election to the presidency marked a turning point not only for the United States, but for the entire world. Through your strength of character and unwavering resolve, you brought an end to bloody conflicts in no fewer than 8 regions across the globe in less than 9 months. You became one of the most consequential presidents in history. You saved countless lives that would have been lost without your leadership." End of quote. So true. Similarly, speaking at the October 13 Sharm el-Sheikh Peace Summit, Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif said, and I quote, "I would say that Pakistan had nominated President Donald Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize for his outstanding extraordinary contributions to stop the war between India and Pakistan and achieve a ceasefire. Today, again, I would like to nominate this great president for the Nobel Peace Prize because I genuinely feel that he is the most wonderful candidate for the Peace Prize because he has brought not only peace in South Asia, saved millions of people, and today here in Sharm el-Sheikh, achieving peace in Gaza is saving millions of lives in the Middle East. Mr. President, I would like to salute you for your exemplary leadership, visionary leadership, and I think you are the man this world needed most at this point in time. The world will always remember you as a man who went out of his way to stop 7 and today 8 wars." End of quote. I couldn't agree more. Now, what comes next for Gaza, Israel, and the region as a whole? If all the big ideas in the 20-point Gaza peace plan are fully implemented, then this peace deal is clearly a cusp in regional peace and prosperity. It's good that Gaza is to be governed by a transitional technocratic committee in place of the terrorist group Hamas, which will be supervised by an international board of peace. The board of peace will be chaired by President Trump and have as members other world leaders and international figures, mainly from Arab and Western countries, possibly including former United Kingdom Prime Minister Tony Blair. The plan is for this to happen until a reformed Palestinian Authority can securely and efficiently take charge of Gaza. Also, importantly, Hamas and all its factions have agreed to not be involved in the administration of Gaza, including indirectly. All military and terrorist infrastructure, including tunnels and weapons manufacturing outlets, will be destroyed and not be rebuilt. As such, the plan adds Gaza will be a de-radicalized, terror-free zone that doesn't threaten Israel and its other neighbors, and it will be redeveloped for the benefit of its people. So yes, it's a great plan, and I join millions of people around the world in praying for its sustainable success. Now, as I indicated earlier, peace in that part of the world is also absolutely good for the continued harmonious coexistence of our Christian Muslim communities in Nigeria. Ultimately, because of the very important role that President Trump and the United States will play in determining the success of the Gaza peace plan, we all must keep praying for him and for the United States government to continue to preserve the peace in that region of the world in particular. The editorial board of the Washington Post said as much when they wrote yesterday in a piece titled "The Day After War Has Arrived" as follows, and I quote, "In a region where the United States has had little diplomatic success in recent decades, President Trump can fairly claim a generational accomplishment. At the same time, this represents the first phase of what will be an arduous process. Whether this chapter leads to enduring peace depends on Trump's continuing personal involvement and America's role as the peace deal's main guarantor." End of quote. May God bless President Trump and the United States, and may God bless Israel and Gaza.